Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Thursday, August the 20th, 26. I am your host, Jeffrey Dunyon. The stock market just opened. There is the opening bell. Really, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm seeing a really interesting opening in spite of everything looking very negative pre-market. Now, the indexes might be crashing down the way the pre-market suggested they were going to. Let's get a peek. I show right out of the gate, I show the NASDAQ down 131. I'm looking at a different screen where my live stuff is. NASDAQ down 131, Dow down 385, now 366, S&P 500. It looks like down about 25 points, 27 points. I think all of that was expected. The reason I said kind of a strange opening is because all morning long on futures, I saw SanDisk trading down, and then suddenly it went flat just before the open, and now it's up $10, $11. Nvidia was a little bit positive. It's flat and now just moved into briefly positive territory for a second. Palantir was negative, and then just seconds before the market opened, it went positive, and now it's down a little bit. But a lot of these stocks, I'm thinking, Nvidia, Palantir, SanDisk, not down as much as the pre-market move suggested they were going to be down. Now, as you can see here, the Dow is down 400 points. The NASDAQ futures had the NASDAQ down, 250 points at one time, and then it looks like it's kind of gradually come back a little bit. So not nearly the decline that it looked like was going to happen. Let me just in case you haven't been watching what was going on this morning, I've been up pretty early and seen this since about 4:30 a.m. my time. So as early as 6:30 on the East Coast, I've been watching this. The good news that propped the markets up a little bit yesterday was on the 30-year Treasury rates, the 30-year bond rates. They were going up the day before, and then they were down very sharply because Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, came out and said that the buyback of treasuries by the government was going to be much more dramatic. Hang on for 1 second here. Well, I barely got to the audio button before a big sneeze that would have blasted your speakers out. Sorry about that. So Scott Bessent, made the announcement that they were going to be more aggressive on buying back these treasury yields, and the markets reacted very favorably to that. Gave up a lot of their gains that they had during the day, but managed to hang on to and maintain a positive finish on the day. Well, all of that reversed this morning. Specifically, there was an analyst at JP Morgan, the article I read, it might be in here somewhere. There was an analyst at JP Morgan, here it is, Malia Crook, senior analyst at JP Morgan. This article is probably worth reading right here. She basically said it doesn't matter what Scott Bessent and the U.S. Treasury is doing. It's not going to overcome the bigger problems. And that commentary basically had those yields raising back up today. On our breakdown right here, when I go to bonds, maybe it's back there on the front page. No, it's not showing it there. But when we go to the page for bonds, it shows the 10-year, but not the 30-year right here. And it's the 30-year that I mean, all of them were going up today, but the 30-year was the one that had people really, really concerned. So that's kind of the predicament that we find ourselves in this morning, and what is causing the markets to tumble. I think that situation will work itself out a little bit. I don't know exactly what the outcome of it will be, but I think that will work its way out a little bit, and the markets will get over that. What is more puzzling to me than this back and forth with the bonds, the thing to me that is more puzzling is Walmart dropping like a rock this morning, down 8% on a beat on top and bottom line, and a guidance that they raised beyond analyst expectations. And in spite of that, they're selling off to the tune of 8%. This is the one that's puzzling to me. I keep looking at this and thinking, what are investors looking for? What are people looking for if this is not enough to satisfy them in terms of what is going on? It's just it is honestly a little bit bizarre to me that they reported the numbers they did. And it's not just the numbers. People are forward looking. They oftentimes look at things and say, yeah, it's great that you did that in the previous quarter, but what are you doing for me moving forward? What have you done for me lately is not the case a lot of times with stocks. It's what are you going to do for me next? And in spite of the strong guidance numbers that they gave, the stock is tumbling, and that's what's surprising me a little bit. Part of me wants to believe that this ship will right itself sometime through the day and in the coming days, but I don't know. It's puzzling. I I thought that maybe some of this is being a little bit counterbalanced by a new jobless claims report that was a little bit better than expected. The consensus was 211,000 new jobless claims. It came in at 26, so it was minus 6,000 over what the expectation was. Yeah, Jeff, you might be right. Jeff commented, sell the news on Walmart. It's a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. Except I didn't see going into this report. If you look at Walmart's chart going into this report, it did not appear to me that there was much of there wasn't a lot of buy the rumor going on. Maybe a little bit of an upswing in these last couple of weeks, but certainly a sell the news thing, and it might be nothing more than that. Jeff, you might have hit the nail on the head. It might end up being that there's going to be a brief sell off because of this, and then Walmart will start coming back. But it is puzzling, and it can be frustrating. We're not in an open trade on Walmart right now. But man, if I was, I'd be so frustrated that the news was as good as it was, and they were trailing off the way they are. So, interesting scenario going on right there. Outside of that jobs report and the news on Walmart, um, you've got the Philadelphia Fed uh, came in. The consensus on this report was 25. It came in 47.4. Um, that's a strong reading. That's a really strong reading, and that also could be offering just maybe a little bit of the counterbalance to the other stuff going on. Dow's not at its worst point of the morning, and the Nasdaq. This is really not that bad of a sell off for the Nasdaq. A third of a percent, and the S&P only 0.2%. That's really not that horrible. I've got Amazon down a little bit right now, Google down a little bit, but only about 0.5%. Nvidia up about 0.75%, Palantir down a little bit, and SanDisk up 2%. And SanDisk they might get on a roll and climb like crazy because I think they've been a little unfairly beat up the last couple of days. So they're probably due for one or two of those really big moves up in a row. So interesting goings on right now. Just a very interesting scenario that we have. I am still looking for new trades. I spent a good portion of yesterday. Of course, I spent the morning. A replacement crown turned into a root canal, which was loads of fun. For any of you that have been through that, you know what a joyful experience that is. So I felt pretty beat up for a little while yesterday morning, late morning. But I spent the later part of the morning and the early afternoon while the markets were still opening, looking for trades. I keep looking at things. We've got some earnings coming up that I'm excited about. Nvidia, CRM, CrowdStrike. A day after, Best Buy the day after that, or the morning after that, I should say. And then the next afternoon, you've got Marvell, you've got Autodesk, Alta. We've made good money on Alta trades before. There's still a handful of really good earnings reports coming up this week. The problem is, as I pull up and look at these trades, I'm not finding trades that are attractive in the sense of the risk to reward ratio, and just that ability to find something that is really a good looking trade. It is a frustrating situation. So I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to keep searching for those. I'm going to keep trying to find something that is appealing And if I find it, I will send it out. But hang in there. I'll get something going. Um, Hopefully today or tomorrow morning, I can find some strike prices that I like and some risk to reward ratios on these trades that I like. So we'll keep working on it. We've got all of our collar trades pretty much up to date, and I am looking at adding some new collar trades into the mix. So I'll let you know if I find anything attractive on that respect. And otherwise, I know this is barely 10 minutes, but that's all I've got for the day. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to be back live tomorrow, and I'm going to go back to work looking again for some new trades. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.